And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess, Crusty old guy once again. Guys, we got a weird mixed bag of things. We're going to do some predictions, some speculations, and talk about really nothing, everything and nothing this week, because it is still the dog days of the off season, and we're not quite yet to talking about camp. But instead of just rehashing the same three topics that other podcasts are very obsessed with at the moment, we are just going to talk about some random other things for fun because it's summer.
Okay. Well, first off, for me, I'd like to apologize for last week. We had Black Hawk lore, and I did not wear the Eddie Belfour hat. So I'd like to say already, I'm sorry, Eddie. Hockey Princess, I'd also like to let you know, full of energy today. I had a sleep test at the hospital. They put a mask on me, shoved oxygen. So my brain got the right amount of oxygen for probably the first time in a year and a half. I know what you're thinking. I might be solving world problems.
This is going to be the best episode
of the day.
All right, let's get into it. We've got some NHL stuff. Tyson Barrie has announced his retirement from the NHL after many a season. We wish him happy retirement. Do you have any?
No, Tyson Barrie was always that little puck-moving guy who was almost good enough, never quite good enough, and had a really nice career.
Yeah.
I think everybody always expected a little bit more from him, but he kind of plateaued, but still played a lot of hockey games, which is more than I can say for Crusty.
That is true. And we've got a extension that was up for constant debate, and there were rumors and everything this offseason, mainly because with the lack of free agency, things that actually happened, this was one of the few things that people could speculate on for a while, and that is your Marco Rossi extension with the Minnesota Wild. A lot of people expected this to get locked up earlier in the offseason. A lot of people were expecting him to go elsewhere and to not be with the Minnesota Wild. It's to my understanding that there was a difference in terms of Minnesota Wild wanted one contract and Marco Rossi wanted another contract. Whether we know what those numbers actually were on either side, we don't know. There's a lot of different rumors about different things that were offered, what Rossi wanted, what he didn't. But they got it done. Marco Rossi stays with the Minnesota Wild.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, Rossi doesn't have much leverage. So you sign. At the end of the day, Billy Guerin has made it apparent to Marco Rossi that he doesn't consider him a core piece. Now, what you do with that, I don't know. I would assume he gets moved within the next 2 years. So, I mean, it's a wacky way to start out. I understand, their camp was very adamant on, hey, let's look at some second line center numbers. And I believe Minnesota was very adamant of going, yeah, because Krill got injured, you played up in the lineup and we still don't trust you.
Now I'm going to be honest. I've watched Marco Rossi the amount of times that they play the Chicago Blackhawks. Is Marco Rossi an actual second line centerman? Can he play second line minutes consistently? Or is he one of those pieces where, and as much as I love him, he's one of my favorites. He's my favorite Blackhawk at the moment. Teuvo is on the top line here. And for a highly competitive Carolina Hurricanes, he's on your third line.
It is unsure right now. Marco Rossi, you question his size. And that's just the nature of the business. Again, he didn't put up really a lot of points. Took like an extra year to get to the big club. and then put up the points once Krill got hurt, but disappeared in the playoffs. So if you look at the playoff performance, you're like, I don't think he's a second line center. You are unsure. It's just these guys being a high draft pick right off the gig, they start getting money.
Yeah.
So I mean, Guerin did not want to tie him down. He had no leverage in a trade. So you knew you were getting no routine. Yeah, you could have easily moved him for a second round draft pick. But, what's the point in that? That's your like number 10 pick.
Right.
So do I think he's a second line center? Like anything else we talk about, I think it's possible if you have two really good power forwards. If he's playing with Baldy and somebody else, possibly. Can he generate his own line? Unsure. And that's the thing. There's a big bunch of unsure, especially after the playoffs.
Question. Because this does come up. I mean, it's come up with the Blackhawks. It comes up with many a team with guys that are shorter in stature. Marco Rossi is a smaller guy. But you have plenty of smaller guys also in the league where, yes, they are small, but it seems to come up in conversation less. Is it kind of just more of a skill difference of both of them are very small? Or is it kind of has to do more with who they surround themselves with? Like Alex DeBrincat is small, but rarely is his smallness brought up in the, well, he's a small guy. Is that the case because of his straight up point production? And that's when the size starts to not matter as much? Or do you think it's more of his size doesn't get brought up a ton because of who his line mates are? And then it's really not a problem because you have it sort of balanced with everybody else.
Well, I think you've got DeBrincat. You've got plenty of players like that. But again, the difference with DeBrincat is he's on the wing. And I think that's where the comparison goes, is the centerman is usually down in front of the net. He's got more defensive responsibility. And with the defensive responsibility is tying people up and moving people out of the way occasionally. That's where it is. You would much rather have your smaller stature be on the wing,
right,
than at center. We've had this discussion about the Beacon of Hope and NASCAR a little bit. And that's where this money thing goes in, because he's looking for second line center money. Is it justified? I think at times it just is, because if I'm building a team, am I building just for people to come, or am I chasing
building
a cup?
Be competitive?
And if I'm chasing a cup, look at the league.
Yeah,
it's hard to name any team in the playoffs with two of their top three centermen below 6 feet.
Yeah,
it just is. It's just a vital part. I think it's easier to get away with it. You're on the wing, you're allowing a little bit more on the outside. As much as we want to talk about the game's evolved and you can switch your F1 to F3 and stuff like that, it hasn't evolved that much. And it reverts back in the playoffs, as we all see. So I think that's the part with Rossi. So again, if Rossi proves them wrong, he'll have, I believe, one more year of RFA. And Minnesota's going to have to pay huge, or he leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part of this. He's getting closer now. I mean, my belief is once you start opening this door and kind of saying, well, you're not completely our cup of tea, I think the player gets to, well, okay, I'm not your cup of tea. He knows that. And I think you as a GM start to think, God, if I can get him off to a fast start, might be able to move him within the first 3 months for another piece that I want.
Right.
So I think that all comes into it.
With Minnesota, I mean, because we've both spoken on in the past of how highly we think of Minnesota's current development track in terms of the kids that are coming up in various different positions. If you're Minnesota, what are you looking for? Like, say, for example, like Rossi gets on a hot start. Guerin's looking to move Marco Rossi. What piece are you missing either right now or that you don't have in the pipeline realistically? Granted, I know that, like, we say this all the time with our prospects that we don't know things. We don't know how things will pan out. Same with Minnesota. We don't know how certain things are going to be panned out. But what are you? I mean, it's safe to say that they, with the amount of defensive prospects that they have coming out, a percentage of them should work out, at least for the time being. So it's, what are you looking for with Rossi?
I think you've nailed it completely. That is the concern, because what they're looking for is a line driving second line centerman who then you get the slot Eric Ekman Elk, whatever his name is.
Eric
As your
Erickson Eck?
Erickson Eck. Yeah, I love the Eck part. This kick-ass Eck. You just gotta say, you slot him as your third line center, and then you are solid. So what they are looking for is what Rossi thinks he is. Billy Guerin is not sold on that.
So Marco Rossi's set to go to Anaheim, and Minnesota Wild gets one of the Anaheim centermen.
No. Anaheim is not getting rid of any of their centermen.
Well, we talked about this last week. I mean, you have 5 centermen for 4 lines. Yes. You are getting rid of somebody.
Yes, you probably are. You're probably move one of them to the wing also. You know, so
Marco Rossi and something else.
Yeah,
for Mason McTavish. Tell me Mason McTavish with Erickson Eck wouldn't work. I think it would.
Oh, it would work great. I don't think it works for Anaheim. I mean, how does Marco Rossi work for? I mean, You're talking. You're going to have to give up an elite goal scorer to get one of those top 3 pieces. That's just the way it's going to be. They hold all the cards. For a while, they'll be able to control money. It'll be interesting. But that's basically what it is with Rossi. He sees himself as a second line center. They're not sold on it. Now they can, I would assume next year they will still trot out him on as a third line center and move up into the second line center position. So I don't know. I mean, it's a classic where both sides feel disrespected a little bit.
Yeah.
And that just occasionally it does work out well, but sometimes, a lot of times it just doesn't. These things have a tendency to fester. So we'll see.
Should be very interesting. Christy, you got anything else before we get to our big news?
What else is, nothing else has happened in the NHL? Okay. No, let's get to our big news.
Guys, we have a contract extension. A pretty massive one, I will say. The NASCAR for 7 years. Some say it's a masterclass. Some say it's an overpay. Some people have said both of those same things within a week of each other. I don't think we know really how to handle this contract extension, friends. But we've had it. Frank NASCAR is here to stay. And Crusty, I know you got some feelings on this. Some good and some crusty feelings about this contract extension.
Yeah, there is no masterclass. Okay?
This was not a hard thing to do. It's not like this kid was an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
He was going to sign.
After this year, you are going to be paying him $9.1 million. How is that a masterclass? Come on. And Crusty falls for it all the time on this silly stuff. And I know everybody just wants responses. So I'm trying to improve in that and not just want to respond. But no, there is no masterclass.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good deal. As far as my thoughts on NASCAR, I've been pretty animate on this show. I am unsure what he is, but I know he's a darn good hockey player, and he is everything I want on my hockey team. That has not changed.
No.
Watching him at the end of the year brought me joy in a season that there wasn't much.
Oh, wait, but I thought we weren't supposed to get excited about the last couple of games of the season, Krusty. I thought the last couple of games of the season
he was
meant
playing
nothing, and that we weren't supposed to get excited about how the young kids were performing at the end of the season.
Hold on, I'm ready for that.
Okay.
That was his point production. I had no problems with him when there was 30 games still to go. All I said is the only thing he's not doing is putting the puck in the net. But everything else, that's a hockey player. Of course, he got to the easy part in the season and he puts the puck in the net. Will he continue? I've been told he'll continue this pace, making him a 40-goal scorer next year. Come on. We all know at the end of the year.
I want him to do that just to spite you.
Yeah. But that's what I'm talking about. The end of the year is that. But even during the grind games, he showed that he was a hockey player to me. His point production in points went up in that last 10, which, yes, I don't believe in because it's garbage time. The first 10 to 15 of the year and the first 10 to 15 at the end. That middle 50, that's the meat and bones. That's what we all need to look at next
60,
year.
Guys, Krusty can't count.
If I got 15 and 15, that's 30 minus 80.
10 10.
Oh, I said 10 to 15. All right, now we're all over Krusty's. Hey, I went to private school for some of it.
I was going to say, did you show up?
Oh, no, all right. My diploma doesn't even say satisfactory. Let's not get into that. That's something we don't need.
No. All right.
Okay,
NASCAR.
So getting back to it, I understand that in order for people to get people to talk to them, they need to do this over the top stuff. I'll try. I'm going to try really hard this year not to engage as much. And I don't for the most part because I don't have that kind of time and I can't spell. But hey, you've shown him you are one of our pieces. He's very happy to be there. We need people who are happy to be here. He is a player that leads by example to me. So it is all good. And for everybody who's worried, well, what about Bedard's stuff will work its way out the way it's going to work its way out. And he's a different animal. Because no matter what you think about the two, that United Center was full because of Connor Bedard, whether he played well or not. So he's not going anywhere. It just might take a little longer to figure out what they want to do. Again, you look at the contract from NASCAR's perspective, and he's nailed it. At the age of 29, he's a UFA. At the peak of his career, he'll be able to walk. That works for me if I'm Frank Nazar. Now, you could also play devil's advocate. Would it have been better to sign him for 4 years and then lock him up for 7? Maybe. Only time will tell. There's always little nuances to everything. So, but it's great average, great player. So I'm happy about it.
Well, as long as Krusty's happy about it.
Well, that's the main thing. Keep Crusty happy.
Yeah. True that. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. It's nice. I do agree with Crusty. I don't classify it as a master class, but I'm still under the opinion of Kyle Davidson has yet to make a hard decision. And locking up Frank Nazar for 7 years is not a hard decision. But it should be interesting. I think this will set the precedent for the next couple of extensions that Connor does, or not that Connor does, that Kyle does, in terms of who and for how much the core pieces of this rebuild are going to be and how much they're making. And also, we didn't bring this up, that it is changing in terms of their contracts, where they're able to front load NASCARs, but that's not going to necessarily be the case a couple of years down the line, especially with maybe Bedard's extension, maybe with whomever's next getting an extension with this rebuild of sorts, whoever it may be, if it's Drew, if it's whoever, there's a possibility that most of these young guys aren't going to be able to like front load, and their contracts are going to look a little bit different going forward.
No, you bring up a couple really good points. Number one, it's a gauge for Oliver Moore, people like that you want to say, hey, you got to stay below this. But you're completely right on. I believe it might be some point in time before the end of the year you're unable to do that. That might be coming sooner than later, and that changes the whole framework anyways. So the comparing it isn't. And while you were talking, I was reminded of what Friedman once said as far as these master classes. And he pointed it out. You need to understand that once you get to this player is like the greatest contract for the team, they said, trust me, agents hate that. They go, they will never give in an inch to the team again. So with all yin comes a yang. And he had talked to a couple agents and they said, yeah, once we're on that list, he goes, it's brought up in meetings, it's brought up in negotiations, and we ask, where's ours? So, everything ebbs and flows. God, we spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
But hey, 8 more years, right?
Woo woo. All right, we're gonna jump to our predictions.
Okay.
And like I said, we're gonna do our division predictions once a week. We did Atlantic last week. We're gonna do Metro this week. Next week, we're probably gonna jump to Pacific. In no particular order, the Metropolitan Division is the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Washington Capitals, the New Jersey Devils, and your Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Crusty, would you like to do the honors of start off of who is the bottom of the barrel in the Metro?
Sure, I will. As I said, I was going to do much better on this one.
Yeah.
And then I still went for a gamble in the Metro. But I will start off with the team that messed me over the most. And I'm going to put in 8th the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Dang.
Your
thoughts?
Really no ads. And a couple other people that they're going to be trying to move. This is all the recipe of a tank.
Well, yeah. Pittsburgh Penguins have got a tank for Gavin McKenna.
I don't think Sid has it in him to just bow out with an injury, but I wouldn't be shocked either. You go look at, that's not really a good club. And I believe it might be the only team that Kevin Hayes could get a job at. And Kevin Hayes is a really cool dude, but it just doesn't translate. So that's who I have.
Number 8, similar reasons to you. I have the New York Islanders because, yes, there's a possibility that some of your kids start playing this year, but if they don't, I think even if they do, I think it doesn't necessarily make that much of a difference. You're missing a lot of pieces. And you don't have Noah Dobson anymore. So I think you're missing a lot of pieces, even if some of the young kids, gosh, even if you have Schaefer playing come October, I think he's a fantastic kid and is going to be a great hockey player. I don't think putting him in the big club is like the magic band-aid of this team is fixed and this team is going to be competitive. I think it's going to be a couple of years. I think this is not the lookings of a tank. I think this is a tank. On the kind of, we've hit rock bottom-ish. We're coming up. I think they've got pieces in the system. It's still just not enough. So yeah, I've got the Islanders at the bottom.
So no confidence, and they have Boo. They've got Adam Boquist. What are you talking about?
Love the guy, but I don't have confidence.
Okay.
If anything, the guy that I have the most confidence in the New York Islanders, it's Ilya Sorokin. And I think having a good goaltender only gets you so far.
All right.
7, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins for same reasons. I think you have pieces. At the end of the day, you still have Sid. And as much as I have beef with the Pittsburgh Penguins, I just can't put Sid at the bottom of the division, even though I'm not the biggest Penguins fan. I think you have a few pieces coming up. Maybe that's just my bias that I'm a big fan of Rucker McGroarty and Artur Shilovs, but I hope that they are not last in the Metro, mainly for the young kids, not necessarily for the older veterans that are on the team.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I've got the Philadelphia Flyers. And they've got some pieces. They went out and got Dvorak, who I believe is a really solid centerman. Almost like in our, Anisimov. Just kind of does everything right. Nothing else. You've got Konepki, who I believe was on the same trajectory as your Brandon Hagel. And one went this way and the other one went that way. But is still a heck of a player. And then, you've got the Russian, you've got Tippett, you've got Zegras. But I don't know what their goaltending is. There isn't much defense there. And in most of your forward group, there isn't much defense. So I see them getting run out of the building occasionally. I like their rebuild. I like the people they're drafting, and I like their system that they have as far as the players that are going to be coming up, but just not yet. There's nothing there that says this is going to be able to stabilize. So you want me to go 6?
Sure.
Okay. 6. I have the Islanders, and is that? Yeah, that's 6.
Yeah.
I've got the Islanders, and they're above the other two because they have the best goaltender. It's that simple. You've got Roy behind the bench, who's going to play everything really close, and they'll stay in ball games, playing a safe game. Hopefully Barzell comes back, playing well. You've got Bo Horbit, you've got Duclair. They've got a couple pieces. Again, a huge void defensively with Dobson being gone. But I put them against the other garbage for the fact that they have a top goaltender.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. My 6 is really only a 6 because I think my 5 has a better goaltender. But I think equally they're kind of not doing so great. 6, I have the Philadelphia Flyers for similar reasons to why you put them down at the bottom end. Goaltending, there's really nothing. Defensive, there's really nothing. I think they have pieces. I think they have a lot of pieces that are coming. I think they are further ahead in terms of other rebuilds within the Metro. They're certainly above Pittsburgh, who's really, I think this was the first year, in my opinion, that they started growing their development pool. They're ahead of New York in terms of like what they have in the tank that's coming. But I think there's just too many areas that are significantly lacking for them. So I have Philly at 6.
Okay.
And then I can jump to my 5, which I really only have above number 6 because of their goaltender. But I have the New York Rangers. I don't know how this team is going to pan out, to be honest, with the pieces that have gone. I think there's a part of the locker room that you do lose with Kreider no longer being there because he was such a significant piece of that team for so long. And they really just don't have a ton coming up. They still do have pieces, and I think they'll still be mildly competitive, but I don't know competitive for how long. I think, like many times in these past couple of years, I think Shesterkin will bail them out in buttloads throughout the season. And like I said, I've got New York ahead of Philly mainly because New York has Shesterkin and Philly really doesn't have much in the goaltending.
Yeah, these are becoming very boring. Yeah, I've got the Rangers at 5 also. I mean, yeah, there's talent there. You've got some younger players in the Kurler, however I say his name, and Lafreniere. I'm a huge JT Miller fan. And then I'm also a Trocheck fan. But you got rid of Miller, and I don't think you replaced him with anybody. I think defensively you're flawed. And yeah, I just think the whole team is disjointed. Could they pull off a miracle turnaround? Sure, that's a lot of veteran talent at the forward position.
Well, and also you have Mike Sullivan at the helm. So I think this is a team out of the Metro. I think a lot of, like you said, it's very disjointed. And I think the culture is a bit disjointed, not only with the things that happened this offseason, but, with your captain leaving and other pieces leaving throughout the season last year. I think it's kind of disjointed, but I do think Sullivan more than has the ability to kind of bring that locker room together.
Yeah, I think so. I just think you're at the end of the day with the condensed schedule, you're banking on these old farts.
Yeah.
I mean, Panarin's pretty gosh darn old. Trocheck is old, and they've all got big miles on them. And I also see Adam Fox playing himself. Yes? Go ahead, Hockey Princess.
Are the Rangers expecting Perreault to start at the end of the year?
Who to start?
Gabe Perreault.
I believe
Because
that
I
he's
know that's one of the younger, like the young
right.
piece that they've been banking on. And I can't imagine. I mean, I think this is it's like sophomore, junior year. Like he can't play college past this point, really.
Well, he can still go. He'll be a junior, I think, this year, right?
Yeah, so I don't think they'd make him go for his senior year. More than enough space to make
I
a spot for him on the roster.
I will get back to you on that of what the game plan is. I don't know if he's already committed back to college or not. So, and as I said, my other little point is I see Adam Fox playing himself off the Olympics. So, I mean, granted they have Igor, but I
Yeah.
I just think with playing so many games, it's hard to just rely on a little handful of older players.
No, that's
And
fair.
if the other young kids can't carry, that's kind of it.
Yeah. Number 4, and this is where they ended the year, and I don't see them. They're one of those teams where I don't see them jumping the top 3, but I also don't see them tanking to kind of fall down past the other teams that we've mentioned. So number 4, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's pieces that are missing, but I think they're at the point where they have a significant amount of decent pieces. So I think this is going to be the first, or at least I hope for the roster and more importantly for the fan base, that they are decently competitive. I think this will be the first full year where they are pretty competitive. Like I said, I think you have pieces all across the board. I think you are missing pieces all across the board, but they're not like the teams that we mentioned before, where it's like, yes, we're good here, but we have this big gaping hole in defense or goaltending, or no one can score. I think they have a little bit of everything that will give them enough to kind of bypass the teams that are in rebuilding and tank, but not necessarily be incredibly competitive like our top 3.
Okay. For me, at number 4, I have the team that I never give respect to. It would be your Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, last year was smoke and mirrors and everything else. And it's an average decor. Leonard coming up. Can
Captain
McMichael
America.
can McMichael play to the level he played last year?
Yes, he's the best Connor Mick in the game.
I don't see that. I like their goaltending tandem, but I just don't see them better than the other 3 teams in the Metro. This is one of my reaches to have them down at 4 because I don't give them respect. You hear that, Ovi? I give you no respect. So, and then for mine at number 3, so making the playoffs would be your Columbus Blue Jackets.
Love it.
Why? They have Duncan Marichuk. Let's remember that.
Yes.
This is the one that I'm hoping for. Everything they went through last year, I go against what I had stated as far as the April crap too, when they went on their humongous run. And is Jet Greaves the goaltender, the all-star goaltender of the future? He won like about 10 in a row to end the season. Because if that team fixes their goaltending problem, watch out. Again, it goes against what Crusty has always told you boys and girls out there in La La Land or wherever watching land you are at. Don't buy into the April crap. But I've kind of bought into the April crap here with the Columbus Blue Jackets, at least at the goaltender position. Fantelli, I believe, will only get a ton better. Johnson's already there. I love the picking up of Miles Wood and the other guy that I can't quite remember
Yeah.
as a bottom six, know what I need to do players. Defensively, they're pretty solid on their top four, like extremely solid. And you have Zach Werenski. I think if they can get off to that start, I think they started their belief at the end of the year. And remember, those were actually somewhat important games. They were looking for a playoff spot up until the last game.
Yeah.
So I'm banking that this is, I don't like to be boring. So I'm picking one out.
There you go.
Columbus in the playoffs.
Number 3, the team that I give some respect to, not a ton. I just haven't seen enough to believe it. And that is your New Jersey Devils. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be fine. I think there's the constant if, the big magical if with the New Jersey Devils. They'll be great if they can stay healthy. They won't have a goaltending problem if they can stay healthy. Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes will be amazing if they can stay healthy. And also, there's the big magical question mark of Luke Hughes is unemployed as of right now, which will probably get fixed, prior to the season starting. I don't think you've made a ton of additions. Granted, you haven't, had a fire sale in the off season where everybody's left, but I don't necessarily know if if enough things have happened to make a big difference in terms of jumping higher.
Okay. I can't disagree with that, even though I have.
Yep.
And I've got them at number 2. You see that beautiful segue? Yeah. That was stuff they should be teaching in school. Segue. Yeah, and go back, 3 years? I mean, this was everybody's darling. Look at how fast they play. Look at how fluid they are. Oh my God. Best signings ever. Master classes on how to build a team. How many cups? It's not, will there be cups? How many? And yeah, it's just never, granted, as you pointed out, we can't do much about the injuries when you lose the Jack Hughes, but you got to find ways.
Right.
You got to find ways to maintain things if you're an elite team.
Yeah.
So I'm not disagreeing with your thought process. I'm just like, my God, if they stay relatively healthy, it's so much talent.
Right. And I think that is the big magic thing that people bank on is New Jersey's going to do all of these great things, but it's just the if they can stay healthy. One of the biggest things that our friend over at Devils on Their Mind talked about is, they lack bottom 6 depth that has your Ryan Donato of sorts, that has the ability to really make a difference when your Nico Hischier, when your Jack Hughes is out for a considerable period of time. I mean, that was one of the bigger rumors of if Ryan Donato wasn't staying, could he end up in New Jersey? Could Taylor Hall go back to New Jersey? They need depth that can carry some of the weight for if their star guys go down again.
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest upsetting thing about my guy also, because you had some injuries and my guy did not rise to the occasion. That would be Dawson Mercer. A great complimentary piece with anyone. A top 2 line driver, unsure. And he needed to do more, and I hate saying this about my guys, but obviously failed last year at it. I believe most of the Devils media and everything else was he was getting a good amount of fingers pointed at him.
Yeah.
And again, I have a lot of confidence in that's a hockey player. Just like your NASCAR. I know that's a hockey player. I don't know if he's a second line driver or if he's a third line player, but I know he's a hockey player.
Yeah.
So again, with them, we'll see. I'm hoping. I think it would be good for the game with the amount of young, fun talent they have there.
Oh, definitely. Going to my number 2. This makes me realize that it's going to be boring because we definitely do have the same number 1. But my number 2 that really likes to balance out Krusty's lack of respect for this team is the Washington Capitals at number 2. I don't think it was smoke and mirrors. I think they are that good. I think their goaltending tandem is great, and I think it works for them. You have Ovi, and as we like to say all the time, at the end of the day, Dylan Strome is Dylan Strome. I think you've got a lot of kids coming up. Guys, if baby Protus shows up at all during this season, right now he's in juniors, but if there is a sliver of a spot for him that baby Protus can come up, that's dangerous. That is very, very dangerous. He's bigger than his brother, and he's better than his brother. And his brother's already still pretty dangerous for the Washington Capitals. Their defense, I'll agree with Crusty, isn't the best, but I think their forwards have enough defensive skill where it's not a huge gaping hole. And at the end of the day, you got Spencer Carberry that can just make that entire team run through a wall. So I have faith in the Washington Capitals. I love them across the board. I think this roster is going to do great.
I can't disagree with any of it. They're the epitome of team.
Well, they have the magic ability to take guys that have really been problems on other teams, your PLD, the Amish guy. Oh, this is going to bug me. He doesn't believe in electricity.
Electricity isn't a thing. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, it's going to drive me nuts.
And no, they've really brought along good young talent at a nice pace, at least in the forward position.
You're Jacob Chikrin. That's the Amish guy. I think the biggest question mark right now, and I don't think it was too much of an expectation, but there are quotes and there are things that Faravari was kind of expected to be ready come training camp. He's still in pain and has admitted he's not liking where he is in his recovery process, and he should be further along. I think that's the only thing right now that's a little scary, but I don't think it's as huge of a hole. Also, with my love for the Washington Capitals, they have a great thing that not many other NHL teams have, and that is the Hershey Bears. I've said this before, that the Hershey Bears are very different in terms of how an AHL team is structured. A lot of teams kind of, their AHL affiliate is filled with their younger guys, maybe a couple of veterans, and it's kind of their run. Their purpose is to serve the NHL team, where the Hershey Bears, have some of the best AHL players in the league and serve the Hershey Bears, and will run some college or some Washington prospects coinciding with them, but the Washington prospects are not the complete priority for the Hershey Bears. So even if Washington does have to call up somebody from Hershey, you're bringing up one of the most skilled vets probably in the AHL.
I can't disagree with any of it. It's Krusty's gut, which we've all figured out is basically worthless. That everything went right last year, and I don't see it happening this year.
That's fair.
And again, the other big part is, except for a little tiny bit of a broken leg, they stayed pretty healthy. So I am saying they're going to get the Devils stuff, and then we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Number one, we both have the same team because really, even though they can't make it past the Eastern Conference Finals, who else realistically are you going to put as number one in the Atlantic right now, except for your Carolina Hurricanes? They're fast, they're mean. Like I said, they can't make it past the Eastern Conference Finals. And once they get their goaltending situation worked out, maybe they will. But I think come regular season, they're going to be their standard competitive self. I really don't think things will change. I think they've gotten more in additions this offseason than subtractions in terms of pieces that they need. And I think come October, it's going to be business as always for Rodbod.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely hard to bet against Rod during the regular season. That's a fact. You've added Nicholas Ehlers, so you've added a top 6 forward to your team, which is really good. Yeah, and you got Keandre Miller, who I understand might have had a lot of problems with the Rangers. His defensive play, I can tell you this. I guarantee he plays better defense than Brett Burns. And that's who he's replacing.
Oh, I think that. And not to say that there's going to be less of an expectation with Carolina, because I think Rod puts a serious amount of expectation on all of his players. But I think there's going to be a significant difference in expectation in terms of the role that he is going to be in Carolina versus what he was expected to be in New York.
I just think system-wise,
it works.
It freaking works for him because he gets to be a little bit more aggressive. And he has all 12 forwards that buy in to playing a 200-foot game, because if they don't buy into it, they don't play. He didn't have that in New York.
No.
You had New York, especially last year. That's everybody pointing fingers at everybody. So I believe he is a huge add. So they've done nothing but get a good amount better. Is it good enough to get them to the promised land? I don't know. You're going to have to hope for some Florida injuries. I mean,
yeah,
we've discussed that team.
Yeah,
but they're the top of the Metro, and it's probably not even close.
That is true. All right, that's our Metro predictions. Crusty, I think you get out of the other thing that we were going to talk about.
I do?
Or would you like to? We can go long this week.
I can get it in. We could discuss. I didn't understand.
You want to discuss it a little bit?
Huh?
You want to discuss it? I felt like I was going to have to force you to discuss this topic.
No,
All right. Krusty's got notes, so we're going to go a little long with this one because I came up with a wacky topic because there were other podcasters and other teams that were kind of the Mount Rushmore of the quarter century for the Blackhawks or the Islanders or the Avalanche. A lot of people have been doing that. And because most of our Mount Rushmore is the dynasty for the Chicago Blackhawks, it's pretty much an easy answer. So we are going to go with something far more exciting, and that is the Mount Rushmore of Crusty.
Okay. And I'm thinking when you first told me about the whole Mount Rushmore thing, then I'm thinking, well, Gretzky, Lemieux, if that's what we're talking about. But we're talking about we're going to go to crusty players,
crusty old guy,
crusty players, crusty coaches.
Yes.
I've only got it half done.
Okay.
I was going to put a coach on there. But then after researching Mike Keenan some more, he's not a very good person.
No.
I ended up finding out that in a game up in Canada, Howard Chuck's grandmother was near death, and she was able to make it to a game up there to see.
Oh, and then Keenan scratched him?
And Keenan scratched him. And then Brett Hull went in there to yell at him, and Keenan basically then took away his C. I liked him in that little time with the Hawks, but I read up. He's whacked out of his potato and not a very good person.
No.
He's
And that's
probably
the
the
thing
only
that we
person.
want to kind of decipher with this Mount Rushmore of Crusty. We are not looking for the meathead of meathead, truly bad people. That is not what we
No.
are kind of
So
discussing.
that's not what I'm looking for, but I want crusty guys.
Yeah. Very meat and potatoes.
So I think I got 2 crusty guys.
All right.
And the other thing is, being a crusty guy means you're bad, you're tough.
Yeah.
But then researching it, I didn't want goons and cheap shot artists either. So one of them that I have on here had a couple cheap shots that I'm sure he gave, but that's all part of it. But we'll start off without my Mount Rushmore. I'll have a goaltender.
Okay.
His name is Billy Smith.
Yeah.
He was my first look at somebody who just, oh my goodness, the temper, the craziness, the nicknames, nicknamed Battlin' Billy and the Hatchet Man. Basically, just because if you got close to his crease, he would take that big paddle and take care of you. But Billy Smith was drafted in the expansion draft by the Islanders and then ended up running the Islanders to 4 consecutive Stanley Cups. Just his fight constantly. Then doing a little writing up, he had a big incident with Mike Bossy. Bossy took a hard shot to him at practice, and I guess he was going there to kill him. And if you guys don't know, Mike Bossy is one of the greatest hockey players of all time. I guess 3 teammates had to tackle him. It's just the way he was constantly on the edge at all times. He was somebody who was, as Krusty always says, was going to bring you into the fight right away. And again, he's got 4 Stanley Cup rings. Also, which is kind of neat, he refused to shake hands in the handshake line, which is kind of a Krusty thing. I'm battling against these people. I hate these people. Why do I need to shake their hand afterwards?
Well, then what is your thought
enemy.
on? Because
Can't I
didn't
call you
Vander
tomorrow?
Kane do that?
Can I call you tomorrow and say good job? I found that very interesting. But Billy was the first guy that I noticed there was greatness and just an attack style that I loved in my goaltender. Same reason I loved Eddie Belfour and stuff like that. So I've got 3 out of the 4. I'm only going to give 2 today, and I'm going to tease and see if I'm allowed to give the other 2 next week.
You definitely can.
All right, because then I'm going to save 1, and then I'll give out my other one, and the other one I still need to find because I was just so disappointed in Mike Keenan. I have notes on one and no notes on the other, so of course I'm going to go with the one with no notes. And on my crusty Mount Rushmore will be Dave Bolin.
Yes.
Yeah. When thinking about what you wanted from all of this, I then thought Super Dave.
Dave.
That is my complete what I am looking. That is a crusty guy. Yeah. Somebody who constantly got underneath the skin of anyone he played. He made Joe Thornton have a conniption fit in the playoffs. Started breaking sticks, crying to refs all over the place. It was unbelievable. Not to mention what he did to the Sundins and everything else. There was no better shut down complete hockey player than Dave Bolin. The only reason Dave Bolin wasn't a superstar was pretty simple. It started in 2009 with back surgery. And then it went to 10 with a concussion, then a groin injury, and then after he left the Hawks, he had the terrible severed Achilles tendon. Just like the Hockey Princess's favorite player. And I've never seen anybody come back and be the same since then. I've always mentioned that about Tomo Rutu when people say, well, he never lived up to the hype. And I'll say he had to change completely the player he was.
Yeah.
Because after that happened when he was with the Hawks, he was not, you just can't turn. There's not that unbelievable quickness because you need the Achilles a lot.
Yeah.
For those who always like to look at Blackhawk lore and the unbelievable goal of a Brent Seabrook in Game 7 against Detroit, watch that goal again and watch what Dave Bolin does on this goal. And that basically exemplifies the whole thing. He blows up a dead wing so Seabrook can just basically skate in. Do they in 2011 get past the first round if he's healthy the whole time? Probably. He misses the first 3 games, 3 or 4 games against Vancouver, and then comes back and plays lights out. Just an unbelievable disruptor when it mattered. Part of the unbelievable 2013 best fourth line ever.
Yep.
Just when I look for hockey, and I'm not talking superstars, I'm not talking your Patrick Kanes, okay, your Jonathan Taves, who, granted, they do more also, but they're just gifts. They're
gifts. On a different Mount Rushmore.
They are. It's in it, and I think it was a Mount Rushmore that you didn't want me going to. And
no, this is way more fun.
If Dave had been there, I am unsure. But the list of crap that he went through was unbelievable, and he constantly showed up. And that fourth line in 2013 was off the friggin' hook. So that is my second one. I have my third one already, just because I think we talked about him a tiny bit. And then I'm going to have to find a fourth. So,
all right, but we're holding off on third, and we're doing third.
Yes, we're going to do 2 more next week if I can.
Yeah.
That's what we call a tease in the business.
Jesus. All right.
For anybody that's still watching at a minute 3.
All right. Quick reminder, friends, we are doing fantasy hockey this year, the Princess League. It's going to be super fun, whether you are very knowledgeable at hockey or don't know anything. As we say every week, fantasy hockey is for everyone, and fantasy hockey is really about luck. So even if you think that you won't be good at it, you probably will be good at it.
And odds are good you'll be able to spend a week bragging to friends, I beat Crusty.
That is true. So if you do want to join the Princess League this year, just email us here at thehockeyprincess@gmail.com. We'll get you the hookup with the link for it. That is all. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. That is all. And we will talk at you guys next week.